Soundtrack and Need for Speed go a long way back. What immediately comes to your mind when I play this? Or this? Or this? Well, I can already answer those questions. Number one, you thought of the Underground 1 loading screen. Number two is you thought of the Underground 2 loading screen. Number three, you thought of that one specific pursuit you had in Most Wanted 2005, which was really intense. And those are all things which come from music. Now, I don't know why I'm the only one like this, but music for me in video games is a huge thing. It might be because I'm really into music myself. I don't know, but I still feel like there is a place for a good soundtrack in Need for Speed 2019. Now, I know a lot of people are going to look at this video and say, well, I just turn off the soundtrack and listen to Spotify. I know a lot of people are going to say music in video games now is a bit derelict, a bit pointless, but I completely disagree. Forza Horizon 4 Hospital Records soundtrack was one of the best video game soundtracks I've experienced in so long. If you look at games, kind of more cinematic games like God of War, The Last of Us, those are games which I think are backed up a lot by the soundtrack, and there's no reason why Need for Speed shouldn't be the same. Need for Speed has had some of the best soundtracks in racing games and even video games as a whole. Underground 1, Underground 2, Hot Pursuit 2, Undercover, Pro Street, even the build up to 2015 was fantastic. If you ever hear Night Riders, you always think of the teaser from Need for Speed 2015 if you're a racing game fan. Same with Chemical Brothers Go. There's a lot of songs that come from the Need for Speed franchise that still stick to me to this day, and I think a lot of the reason why I have the music taste I have is because of those older Need for Speed games. So I do think that Need for Speed and music have a big connection, and I think the current trends with music and stuff is what Need for Speed should be grabbing from. So in this video we're going to talk about original music and licensed music, as well as some of the artists I'd like to see. This is going to be one of two videos because I have some more specific thoughts. This is kind of going to be a general video to ease you guys into what I have to say, and then the next video I do is going to be about the specific soundtrack and the specific artists I want to see from both the original soundtrack and the composed soundtrack, because I do want to see two separate things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about original soundtrack first, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the licensed soundtrack. So the original soundtrack is the soundtrack that is made for the game. An example of this would be Horizon 4's Hospital Records drum and bass soundtrack. So, you know, you guys know what that is now. This music was actually composed for Horizon 4. It was made with Horizon 4 in mind. Other examples would include the Most Wanted 2005 Pursuit music. I think pretty much all the Pursuit scores are made for the game, and those typically are the types of songs which we hear, you know, that are original made for the game, in terms of Need for Speed at least. Back in the day, we used to have rappers come in and make songs for Need for Speed. I think a lot of what Horizon's done with their Hospital Records drum and bass soundtrack is something which Need for Speed can learn from. Now, before we go any further in this video, I do want to quickly talk about the main genres which I'd like to see. Now, genres can be termed very loosely. Rap is, you know, mumble rap is really different to conscious rap, which is really different to like party music. But the general consensus of what I'm going to say here kind of still stands, so I'm just going to say what I think. I think drum and bass has a place in Need for Speed in 2019. I think drum and bass is one of the kind of most prolific underground genres right now, especially in Europe at least. Obviously, this is coming from someone who's lived in England and is part of like Europe, so I'm not sure if that's how it is in America, but I'm just going to kind of go off what I feel here, and this is obviously my perspective. Obviously, you guys might have a very different view. Music is very subjective, but I'm kind of going to go what I think here. So I think drum and bass has a place in Need for Speed. I think some hip-hop has a place in Need for Speed, and I think grime has a place in Need for Speed, and I think those should be the three genres which they take forward. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comment section be like, what about rock and metal? I honestly just don't think it has that big of a place in pop culture anymore. There's a reason why Limp Bizkit and those types of, you know, artists really prospered in the mid-2000s. It was because it was a thing that was very much in the mid-2000s. I don't think if you kind of fast forward to now, artists like Limp Bizkit, like Mastodon, are really that popular anymore. Not saying they aren't popular, but they're not pop culture, if you get me. Which is why I think these three genres are the ones which they should go for. Now, furthermore, we're going to go ahead and talk about the original soundtrack. So like I've been referencing a lot in this video, Horizon 4 did a great job with the Hospital Records soundtrack. So great. I actually bought it on vinyl. I don't know if I've got it here. Yeah, like I literally bought it on vinyl. It's actually fucking sick. If Need for Speed, you should do something like this because it's actually fantastic. And I know I'm not alone in saying that a lot of people do listen to that soundtrack still. It's one that, you know, was used for a streamer mode in Horizon. You can activate it in game, and that will avoid you getting any copyright strikes, which is fantastic. fantastic idea. I don't know why anyone else hasn't done that already. And this is something which Need for Speed can implement as well. But now I'm kind of going to talk about, you know, the specific genres, why I've picked these 3 genres, and justify what I've said. Drum and bass. Need for Speed 2019 needs to feel illegal. I think a lot of the problem with Payback it didn't really feel illegal, nor did 2015 really. And I think the soundtracks had a lot to do with that. When we first heard Night Riders in the 2015 trailer, the reason why that had such an atmosphere was partially because of the music. Drum and bass is the dirtiest genre out of the 3 I've picked, and that's a very, very, you know, conscious decision. I'd love to see a drum and bass, you know, soundtrack compiled of artists from elsewhere for Need for Speed, specifically for the game, and I think that would be the one that would be easiest to do. Drum and bass artists aren't particularly, you know, popular, but they're definitely there in pop culture, at least, you know, among the younger crowd. And I think overall, you know, grabbing drum and bass artists would be a lot easier than grabbing grime artists or rap artists, and that's kind of the reason why I've picked that as number 1. Now, to give you some examples of, you know, the kind of vibe I'm going for, I'm going to play a few songs here, let them roll, and I'll be back in a minute. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly get some footage that I've slapped from the internet. I'll put the source link down in the description if you want to go watch the full video. Probably some crispy media stuff. Now, imagine if this is Need for Speed 2019, and then you hear this in the background.
Streets closed, pizza boy. Find another way home.
The whole vibe I'm going for is illegal, wrong, street racing, gritty. That's kind of what I'm going for here, and I don't think many other genres do it as well as underground drum and bass. Now, taking a page from Horizon's book and having a composed drum and bass soundtrack would be a fantastic idea in my opinion, and it's something which I'm a big advocate for. Although it would be cool to see rap and grime, you know, composed soundtracks, I just think it'd be too hard. It would probably be one of those things where only 1 or 2 artists get on board and it'd be 1 or 2 songs. I want a whole, like, radio station's worth of composed music, as well as the Pursuit score, which also should be made from the guys over at Ghost or EA or whatever. In terms of licensed songs, I'll play a few here, but I don't want to go too in-depth because, again, I'm going to make a future video on this explaining why I picked the songs I've picked. But stuff like this.
Man thought he could try and rob my craft, but he didn't know I had a butterfly tuck. Butterflies in his belly, but he ain't in love. He's wet, man, he's bleeding, he's leaking blood.
I think soundtrack is vital to a Need for Speed game, and I think it's vital to the direction in which Ghosts are going. I think it's something which has been neglected in the series for years and years. I don't think Need for Speed had a good soundtrack since Hot Pursuit 2010, so almost a decade ago now, which is crazy to think. And I think this year is the perfect year for them to really step it up and bring it back. Honestly, I don't know if it is just me, and please do let me know. I'll put a card up there. But let me know if it's only me that is as passionate about the soundtrack, because I do feel like it's something which is kind of glimpsed over. For me, soundtrack is really important, because it's one of those things, even if you do turn it off, it's still going to be in the cutscenes, it's still going to be on the splash screen, it's still going to be in the game. Like, you're still going to, you know, encounter the soundtrack if you are trying to complete the game. And it's something which really does make a huge difference, because if you're, you know, playing a game and you hear this,
T-shirt on my face, dressed in black. Bastard clothes, start burning that.
completely different to if you hear this.
F is for friends who do stuff together.
And I just think it's something which Ghosts need to improve on, because the past few attempts have been absolutely appalling. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and talk about specific songs which I want to see, reasons why I've said that, you know, specific artists that I want to see on the composed soundtrack. Maybe in a few videos time, just so I can give this video a bit of space. I might do a gameplay next or something, but I'm going to do that video soon because it's something which I'm passionate about. And you never know, I might send this over to Ghost, because again, I think this is something which is really important, and I might type this up and send it to Ghost, because this is something which is really important. It's something which I feel definitely needs to be focused on. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and hit the like, subscribe, tweet it out to your friends and share it and stuff, and leave a comment and let me know what you think about the songs I've picked. I know there's going to be a few angry like metal fans in the comments, but that is what it is. So with that being said, you guys enjoyed. If you did, again, hit the like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys have been awesome. Stay safe and peace.